Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world. I'll be breaking down the news from tech to gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench you with witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. How's it going, Professor?
It is going very well.
Oh yeah? What'd you get up to?
Actually, not a lot. I've been focusing on an assignment for the last couple of weeks.
Fair enough. How far are you into it?
Almost finished.
Is it like a big long essay, or is it just like short answered questions you have to write a bit of an essay on?
A report about a continuous integration pipeline.
Okay. I don't know.
It's a programming thing.
Fair enough. Meanwhile, I've been I went to the bookstore the other day and I got myself an interesting book called Star Wars vs. Star Trek by Martin Forbeck, who is a game designer as well, interestingly enough. And this
what was
thing
that last name again?
Martin Forbeck.
Okay, I found a Matt Forbeck.
Yeah, Matt Forbeck.
Not
yeah,
Martin. Okay,
Matt Forbeck. My mistake. My bad.
he's not the guy I'm thinking of then.
Well,
I was thinking of a Martin who is quite a prolific board game designer.
Okay.
Who I met at a symposium a few years back.
Ah, nice. This book is very interesting in terms of it's like watching Death Battle on a book. And there are some interesting battles I've encountered in this book. For example, Benjamin Sisko versus Anakin Skywalker. Guess who wins that one?
Well, I haven't seen any Star Trek that has Cisco in it, so I can't really tell.
Okay, alright. How about this one? Han Solo versus Captain Kirk.
What is the battle? Is it a battle of seducing people, or is it a battle of killing each other?
It doesn't really specify like what's the battle specifications. It just says Han Solo versus Captain Kirk. Like who would win essentially. But who would you pick for that battle?
Probably Han Solo, because he would just shoot Captain Kirk before they even got close.
Are you trying to do the whole like Solo shot first argument?
Yes.
Okay, so the result in this book, it was basically Solo edges out Kirk here, though he doesn't beat Kirk so much as evade him. If we're talking about the special edition version of Solo, Kirk might be able to take him out, but real fans stick to the original version in which Solo would win because Han shoots first.
There you go.
Then there is Ben Kenobi versus Captain Picard. Who would win that one?
Picard.
Let's see. The book says it's a draw for now, but there are some battles in here. There are absolute head scratchers, like Ahsoka Tano versus Captain Janeway, and what's the other one? Padme Amidala versus 7 of 9.
It just reminds me of a Tumblr post I saw once.
Yeah?
Where someone was relating the story of how they had a Star Wars fan club and a Star Trek fan club that were arguing over the who would win.
Yeah.
And they ended up dragging I think it was a Stargate fan club into it to act as the judiciary.
Oh shit! What was the end result of that?
I don't remember. But I'm leaning towards, like, if you took all of the Star Wars characters and all of the Star Trek characters and had them on the same side, it would be Star Trek, because the Borg have that thing where they they learn how to defend against attacks.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So Star Wars might take out a couple of Borg ships, but the Borg would quickly learn and adapt and be able to block their next attack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Interestingly, they also did a battle of the Galactic Empire versus the Klingon Empire. The Galactic Empire wins.
Okay.
Um, Speaking of space battles and all, I just want to make a bit of a bit of a correction on last week's episode. So remember how we were talking about Eve Online, and I was mistaking the whole battle. So the Battle of BR5RB. So the in-game loss of that one was 300,000 to 330,000 US, but apparently there was a bigger battle that fought, and that had a lot more losses. Bizarrely.
Why is it bizarre that a bigger battle involves more destruction?
Well, yeah, actually, you got a point there. So the bigger battle occurred in December 31st, 2020, at the massacre of M2XFE, which broke the record of the largest total destruction, costing about $378,012 in player investment.
That is a very accurate number.
You said that the last time.
Yeah, I just find it weird that you can go, yeah, it's $308,012.
Although, if for the Bloodbath of BR5RB, it was an estimated theoretical value of 300,000, 330,000. But when you put it in 2023 standards, the price is between $380,865 and $418,952 dollars. So, wow, but that's insane. How much?
Yeah, and I
money.
looked into the way they calculate that.
Yeah.
Basically, when Eve was pay to play instead of
Yeah.
free to play like it is now,
Mm.
you could buy a membership using real world money, but you could also pay for your membership using in game currency.
Ah.
So you'd have players who would spend all their time mining or something and earning money to pay for their membership so that they could keep playing. So you can work out then that if it costs you, say, 1,000,000 ISK, which is the in-game currency, to play the game for a month, and a membership for the month costs you $20 or something, then you can then extrapolate that out to work out the real-world value of ships, because you pay for your ship in ISK.
Wow. Jesus, that's a lot. That is a lot of money. So, this week we have the surgical ants, why teens are suffering from game addiction, and Crunchyroll censorship. So for our science topic, we've got the surgical ants, and Professor, you've been talking about this one for a while.
For about a week, actually.
Fair.
Because I only saw it a week ago. But basically, a particular species of carpenter ants, Florida carpenter ants, Camponotus floridanus, will perform surgery and amputate each other's limbs if they get injured.
Wow, brutal.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're using anesthetic, which makes me wonder if ants feel pain the same way we do.
I could totally see this now. Imagine imagine the ants going like, "Oh my god, my leg! Get it off! Cut it off! Cut my leg off, please! Please cut my leg off!" Now I can't see It's a Bug's Life the same anymore now because of that.
And do you remember the movie Ants?
Oh yeah, that movie too. Yeah, that movie.
That's the one where they've got the, like, Saving Private Ryan scene.
No.
I can remember one of the ants picking up the head of his comrade.
Oh, it's been a while since I last saw that one. Thanks for reliving. Thanks for making me relive that.
Got dark for a kids' movie.
Yeah. Oh Man, 90s kids movies were really dark. I mean, remember Toy Story?
Yeah, the original one gets quite dark.
Mm-hmm. So did they say like what's the procedure for the whole process? Like what's the methodology for their amputation?
Well, when the scientists injured the ants deliberately, they would cut their right hind limb,
Oh.
and 13 of the 17 ants with injuries on their femur or thigh
Hmm.
had their leg amputated at the hip. Their nestmates would lick the wound, move up the leg with their mouth parts until they reached the trochanter, which is the hip joint, and then just start chewing until the leg came off.
So they just eat the leg, the infected leg.
Well, they don't eat it, but they bite it off.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Interestingly, they don't amputate if the injury is on the lower leg. They just lick it to clean the wound, I guess.
So if it's proximal to the joint, they bite it, but if it's distal to the joint, they lick it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, can you imagine doing this on the humans? It'd be very, very disgusting, and you'd be violating a lot of ethical and biological codes.
Well, I don't think any human is going to be chewing through a thigh bone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not in the hospital setting, but let's say if you're in the middle of if you're in the middle of nowhere and hospital's like out of nowhere, out of it's nowhere to be seen essentially.
Like you've had a hunting accident,
Yeah.
and your buddy's just like, hold still, I'm gonna chew it off.
I want to eat. Can you imagine your other buddy? If you had like a group of people with you, it's like I want his other I want his other leg now.
Actually, there was a guy on Reddit years ago who had a foot amputated after an accident, was for some reason allowed to keep the foot and cooked it up and served it to his friends with that
Oh.
permission.
Also reminds me of that. I don't know whether you remember the story of the airline that the airline that carried the Brazilian football team and crashed
No,
in
it
the
was an
mount.
Argentinian team, wasn't it?
I think it was Argentina or for Brazilian. Hang on a second.
The Miracle in the Andes.
Yeah. Miracle in the Andes. Yeah, I remember that.
I had to watch that movie so many times in high school because it was part of an assignment.
Second, so it was Uruguayan. No, it was 90 members of the old Christian club rugby union team.
Yeah, but where were they from?
It was Uruguayan.
Yeah, basically, this rugby team crash landed in the mountains of the Andes, and when they weren't rescued after a few days, ran out of food and had to turn to eating the dead.
Yeah.
It's a pretty brutal story.
Mm-hmm. 14 people came out of that flight. So think about it. The number of occupants on that flight, it was 45, and it whittled down to 14 people. That's insane.
Yeah, you can see photos of it where there are, like, it looks like there's body parts in the just lying around the campsite.
Yeah. What's interesting, going back to the ants, what's interesting is that even when they're doing this, the ants don't have that murderous urge, like, oh, I've tasted ant flesh now. I'm gonna resort to cannibalism.
We don't know that they don't.
Ah, yeah.
But that's not like a thing in real life, really.
Okay.
Like, as far as I'm aware, most animals don't taste flesh and then go, I must eat my friends.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
But what's interesting is that back to the ants, they only amputate if the injury is on the thigh.
Hmm.
And the reason that they expect that, they also found that if they infected the ants' wounds, the ants would be amputated as well, but have a higher survival rate than if they were kept separate from the colony.
Huh.
So the surgery is actually benefiting them.
Okay. Huh.
But the reason they think that is that they amputate if they injure the thigh and not the lower leg is because of the way the ant circulation works. So infections of the lower leg spread around the body faster than infections in the thigh. So amputation of the of the leg would be less effective. And the ants have recognized that and don't perform the amputation.
So for this ants, it's the worker ants, wasn't it, and not the higher up ants that they did it on, or is it have they tried it on rankings, other rankings?
Uh, the full paper, but the article that we've sourced makes it look like they are worker ants
Hmm.
and that they mostly get injured battling other colonies of ants.
Because what's interesting is that normally when you get if a worker ant get injured, the ants would just like, okay, leave him be. We can get more of those guys. But this revelation, it kind of makes you think that wow, the ants really care about their own workers.
Yeah, I don't think ants have the mental capacity to have friends,
Hmm.
but there are a lot of interesting things coming out about bugs recently that, that might be completely barking up the wrong tree. But I think also keeping an ant alive is a lot less of an investment than raising a new ant from an egg.
Yeah.
So if the ant can return to work and continue harvesting food or defending the colony, they can still be part of their colony society, which makes me wonder how the ants treat other ants that are completely incapacitated. If there's an ant that is completely disabled and can't work, do they still feed it, or do they leave it to die?
I know this is in one species of ants. Do you reckon this type of behavior is also on other ants as well?
Probably.
Yeah. And I also like one of the professors has stated that it is another example of an adaptation in the lives of social insect workers, in which workers help each other to work for the colony and help their colony. He said, such as when a worker honeybee makes a waggle dance to direct the nest mate to food, or when a worker sacrifices its life in defense of the colony, or here when workers amputate the limb of a injured or infected worker. But from one scientific study, there is another scientific study that's been going on, and that was in relation to video game addiction.
Yeah, there's been a bit of talk about that recently.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of reports about social media addiction and how everyone people are saying children younger than teenagers should be banned off social media. Although I still don't see how that's gonna be enforceable. But this article that came out has been raising a few eyebrows.
Yeah, this one is basically why are people so addicted to games and not specifically addicted where the definition of addiction is like compulsive and life altering, but more that why do people choose to spend so much time gaming?
I mean, if it was, I mean, for me, it would basically be the escapism and loving a good story.
Yeah, the escapism is the point of this article.
Hmm. What do they say for this in relation to that?
Well, they point out that Generation Z are so closely monitored that they don't go outside because there's no places outside for them anymore. They're being followed by their parents on their smartphones. Their parents use tracking apps to keep an eye on them. The youth centers are closing down. Places where teenagers would usually hang out are shrinking, and so yeah, games are providing that particular need for people to have a place to meet each other and have some escapism from daily life.
I get that. I understand the fact that parents will just will be everywhere. And I mean fucking everywhere. And yeah, you're right. It's because and the escapism is to get away from their prying eyes and do stuff. But then it will only be a matter of time before the parents start coming into that space as well. Then
I'm sure they try.
I mean, can you imagine playing with playing a game of Baldur's Gate with your dad? That would be very very awkward.
I don't know. When I was young, I used to play games with my dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mostly strategy games. And we only ever took turns playing single player because we only had the one computer.
Did you ever do like dad versus son games?
No, we only had one computer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what else does this report say about the reason for video game addictions besides overprotective parents?
Well, it's basically saying the world is shit. And of course, people are looking for escapism. And that gaming is cheaper and more accessible than most other forms of entertainment.
I cheaper. I don't know. I don't know about gaming being cheaper nowadays. I mean, look at it costs a fucking fortune just to get get like a game. Like if you want to play Assassin's Creed, for example, like how much money you have to fork out just to get the pre-order.
Yeah, but you can pay $100 for a game, and that's on the high end. There are millions of indie games out there.
Yeah. That's true.
Your price per hour of entertainment ratio is magnificent compared to, going to the pub or a concert.
Yeah.
You can go out for the night and spend a couple of $100 on tickets to a concert, or I don't know what concerts cost. I haven't been to one in years.
The last time I went to a concert, tickets were about $40, and then
Okay.
I even bought the shirt for it, and that cost another 40
Who did
as
you
well.
see?
Birds of Tokyo.
Okay, that's cheaper than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But if you want to go and see someone really big, the ticket price can get up into the thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah. And that depends on where you want to go to sit as well.
Yeah, and then you've got travel. You might need to go to another city to see them.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think Taylor Swift actually played in Brisbane on her last tour.
No, she didn't. I think it was Sydney. I think that was the last
Yeah.
Australian tour. Yeah.
So you might have to go to Sydney or Melbourne if you want to see the artists you want to see.
Hmm.
So then you have travel, a hotel, drinks and stuff at the venue. And that's all gives you, 2-3 hours of entertainment?
Yeah.
Or you can spend $100 on a game and get 10 or 20 hours out of it.
Yeah, but when it comes to gaming, okay, the escapism I can see with gaming, yeah, sure, there is the competition, but there can be moments where that competition can turn very nasty. Like, can you imagine having a game of Fortnite and you're about to hit that last opponent before winning it, and then the opponent kills you? Can you imagine the anger you feel?
Yeah, I've been there. Not in Fortnite, in PUBG.
Yeah.
But I have been in the final couple of players and then gotten sniped.
And then you get also and then you also get moments where you just want to scream at the voice chat like, I wanna bleeping kill you, you beep 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 beep, like all the.
Why are you censoring yourself now and not earlier?
I'm trying to do but the curse words I was gonna say it's more worse than fuck. That's what I was gonna
Right.
say. The old school Xbox lobby, for example, and how
Then you go and
crazy.
play a single player game.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But single player games now, like they are crazy now than they were before. Would you agree?
What do you mean?
Like Elden Ring, for example, how the fun, single players have become fun to play.
Single players are supposed to be fun to play? Are you
Yeah.
sure you're using the right words now?
Oh crap. Okay, I've got to think my words carefully on this one.
If you're getting pissed off at Elden Ring, go and play something simpler. You don't have to play the games that will piss you off.
But that's here's the interesting part. The more pissed off you are with the game, the more you get to go, okay, maybe that strategy I used was wrong. I should try a different strategy. You come up with different ways of dealing with the problem. Yeah, sure, short term you get pissed off at it, but the long term you think of like, okay, if I encounter with the same problem, how do I deal with this?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's relevant to this topic though.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I was gonna go with like maybe that's why video game addiction is becoming a thing. Like people become addicted because they want it's like a never-ending puzzle sort of sense.
Ah, yeah, that would, I think, fall more towards the compulsive side of the addiction
Hmm.
rather than the escapist side.
Ah, okay. I mean, there are some elements in this report that I'm reading that sh- it's true that being imprisoned in your own home and having a lot of psychological issues and mixing fantasy and reality, it can be dangerous. But then we just came back from a pandemic. I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, and the pandemic is still very much going on.
Yeah.
You're still at risk to catch COVID, and it still has some fairly nasty side effects.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So, try not to catch COVID anymore.
Yeah. That's the other interesting thing when it comes to the escapism is the whole idea that maybe people are mixing fantasy with reality in a sense.
How so?
Like there's one section I'm just seeing that said here there is a massive despair and disillusionment at the world in which the home ownership is a fantasy and where careers for life are increasingly rare, and that's all they want to get out to get to the video gaming side of things, thinking that then there'll be a blur of fantasy and reality in that element though when you're really that psychologically damaged.
Okay, you're just confusing me now.
Okay, my bad. So, what would be the solutions would you say for to dealing with this addiction?
Well, I would hesitate to call it addiction.
Hmm.
It's just an escapism that people are spending a lot of time doing it. Would you say someone was addicted to going to the pub if they go to the pub every night after work and spend 3 hours at the pub every night?
Eh, yeah, if it's harmful to the person,
That's pretty much the definition of an addiction if it's harmful to the person.
yeah, like if the person has a liver disease and or if a person has liver disease at the end of it, mate, yeah, you could say that, yeah.
So, would you say that the guy who goes and spends 3 hours a night playing video games is also addicted? Like, it's obviously not the healthiest thing to do because you're not exercising, but
Yeah, yeah. I
is
could,
it any worse for you than spending 3 hours a night in the pub? It's probably healthier because if you're in the pub, you're probably drinking alcohol.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Or if you go and watch 3 hours of Gogglebox or
box.
whatever crap they're putting on free to air TV these days.
Gee, are we gee, Gogglebox, really? I haven't heard that name in ages. I wonder if it's still oh my gosh, it's still
It's still
going.
going. Somehow that show is popular enough to have like 10 seasons now.
It's actually in England, it's now 19 seasons. I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. They're like there. It reminds me of Family Guy when there was it's an old episode, but Peter Griffin was addicted to TV to the point where he devised I think I wouldn't call it a machine in a sense, but it would be a prop where it's connected to your chest and it has a box in front of it essentially. I'll show you an image of it so you can have a better understanding. But the episode was basically Meg destroyed the TV antenna, and Peter got so addicted to TV that yeah, he decided to do this. Give me a second. Okay. So he made a
Okay.
little.
It's a TV frame so that it looks like whatever he's looking at is through a TV.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I think that's what I was saying earlier about the whole fantasy and reality argument earlier on.
Well, I know this might be hard to believe, but remember, Family Guy isn't real.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. But with the addiction part, like that's into some people would like after watching so much reality TV, they wish they were reality TV.
Yeah.
So would you call? I would say it would be an addiction in a sense with that with that.
Okay.
But when it comes to comparing the gamer to going to the guy going to the pub, yeah, I don't know. I would say yes, it is an addiction in a sense for the guy that's going to the pub. But like if in the end, like he will get the liver disease, he would just get if he gets really drunk, he might do something really stupid to himself, similar to like you know those crazy World of Warcraft players when if they lose a battle, then all of us then they'll straight away go to the find the person's home address and do something stupid.
Yeah, doxing people is something completely different.
Hmm. But that's I reckon
Going to the pub for 3 hours every night isn't, or playing a video game for 3 hours every night doesn't mean you're going to dox someone because they piss you off.
Oh no, I'm not saying dox someone. I would say more like to go to their house and doing something insane.
Yeah,
That's what.
99.9999999% of people don't do that,
Yeah, that's true.
no matter
Yeah,
how addicted they get to games.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
There's got to be other mental issues there too.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. But that said, would you consider censorship being a way to curb the addiction?
Well, China's trying that. They've brought in laws about the maximum amount of time you're allowed to play games a day.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I don't think that's the best way to solve this. I think the best way to solve this is to make the world a better place. Give people a reason to want to leave their house. Don't just jump on banning things, because if you ban video games, people are just going to find something else to do.
Yeah, yeah. Like watching anime.
Yeah, like watching anime.
Terrible segue, huh?
Yeah.
Ah, damn it. So, speaking of banning things and Crunchyroll has decided to disable the comment sections of their anime in their platform, and they're doing this in the name of creating a safer, more respectful, and higher quality environment.
That's just corpo speak for it was costing us too much money.
Re- really? Wait, what do you mean costing us too much money?
Well, if you have a comment system, you have to have moderators to make sure that nobody's doing anything illegal. Like, even if you want your comment section to be the Wild West, the scum of humanity, you still need to have moderation so people don't do illegal stuff, because then it's going to come back onto you and you're going to have to deal with that.
Ugh. Wait, moderators get paid to do this?
Yeah.
Nah, come on. That's I thought that was I thought moderators was like being a Reddit mod and you don't get paid for it. That kind of thing.
No. Most social media platforms hire moderators to keep an eye on things like illegal content. Do you remember a few years ago we spoke about Facebook having issues with its moderators because they were making them look at all this gore and illegal stuff and not providing them with the appropriate mental health support?
Oh yeah. And there was a big ass lawsuit about that. Like, if I recall, like $52 million or something was paid to them as a form of workers' compensation or something like that.
Yeah, well, those things have been going on for years. Different companies, different amounts of settlement, but it's really you got to look after your employees.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
if you burn out all your employees, eventually, well, theoretically, eventually you'll run out of employees.
Hmm.
No one will want to work for you unless they're absolutely desperate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So for Crunchyroll's censorship thing, it was basically this change was brought first to the public's attention courtesy of July 7th post made by Reddit user u/touts in the unofficial r/Crunchyroll subreddit, and it goes, finished an episode of a show and made a comment, switched apps, and then come back to find the comment section gone. They relay to their fellow platform users. It continues by saying, thought it was a bug, but apparently they decided to suddenly blanket wipe everything. To support their claim, Touts then shared a trio of screenshots showing a purported conversation they had with a member of Crunchyroll's support team in the immediate aftermath of their discovery. The support member can be seen confirming the change, saying, to maintain a safe, respectful, and higher quality environment for our community, we've decided to remove all existing comments and disable the ability to comment on our platform, including comments on new articles. This change helps us reduce harmful content, prevent misinformation, and improve overall user experience. The support team member further detailed, this is for every Crunchyroll customer. And after some more disappointment, the team member ultimately said that this decision was made to ensure a safer, more respectful, and higher quality environment for all of our users. I mean, when I think this is just this is, you're right in the sense of, yes, this is their way of saying, oh yeah, we don't have enough moderators, but at the same time it's like saying, yeah, we just don't like people saying stuff in general.
Well, I could almost guarantee, like, I would put money on it just being moderating costs more money than they're willing to invest.
Hmm.
They probably work out that a tiny fraction of people actually use the comment system,
Hmm.
and that they just don't care to cater to that fraction of people anymore. And those people are probably just going to go to Reddit or somewhere and talk about it over there instead.
Yeah, but then you also have like, if you, let's say you're watching an episode right now and the comment section's got on there, like, you want to just tell people like, oh my gosh, this cool moment at My Hero Academia, for example. I want to say something in the moment kind of thing. Like, that's gone. And then when you go to Reddit
Well,
and
it's an
say,
asynchronous comment system anyway.
hmm,
You're not going to be commenting at the same time as someone else. You're not watching the show at the same time as someone else, like you would with broadcast TV.
hmm,
So I don't think that really means that
applies.
there's any loss there than compared to just going to Facebook or Reddit or somewhere and talking about it there.
That's true. That's true. So, following the reveal, Crunchyroll updated their support and customer service page by adding a brief section saying, "At Crunchyroll, we prioritize creating a safe and respectful community environment. To maintain this standard, we are removing all existing user-generated content, including comments, across all of our platforms and experiences." And in response to that, fans have begun sending complaints directly to Crunchyroll themselves via the publicly available support lines. See, my other problem with doing this is that it feels like Crunchyroll doesn't like taking criticism as well.
Nah, it's
You don't
just
think?
corpo speak.
I guess. I
Of course, they're
guess.
not going to admit fault. That's how every corporation does it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm okay. As I was saying, like, doing this, if it's another layer to their bungling. Like, for example, the constant butchering of the subtitles and the buggy player as well. Doing this, it just feels like, okay, you can't criticize Crunchyroll for doing their mistakes. So yeah, I mean, you had a Crunchyroll account as well, didn't you? At one point,
I did.
did you face any of the problems when you had that account, or just it was all
No, I
smooth
never
sailing?
used the. Well, actually, I never really had a Crunchyroll account. I had a Funimation account, and I shut it
Ah,
down when they switched over to Crunchyroll.
okay.
Not because of anything Crunchyroll did, but I just wasn't using the account.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen in Crunchyroll. Or anime in the West after this, but yeah, only time will tell. So we'll be back after a short break, and we'll be back after a short break, and we'll talk about the shout outs and the wacky movie. So on to our shout outs. On the 10th of July 1938, Howard Hughes begins a 91-hour airplane flight around the world that will set a new record. So Howard Hughes Jr., along with a crew of 4, departed Floyd Bennett Field, Brooklyn, New York, on a flight to circle the Northern Hemisphere. His plane was a Lockheed Super Electra Special Model 14N2, registered NX 18973. Aboard was Harry P. McLean Connor, co-pilot and navigator, First Lieutenant Thomas Lawson Thurlow, United States Army Air Corps, the navigator, Richard R. Stoddard, a field engineer for the National Broadcasting Company, radio operator, Edward Lund was a flight engineer, Lieutenant Thurlow was a Army Corps Air Corps expert on aerial navigation. Stoddard was an expert in radio engineering. Thurlow, Stoddard, and Lund were also rated pilots. Before they took off from Floyd Bennett Field, the Lockheed was christened New York's New York World's Fair 1939, in keeping with an agreement that Hughes had made with Grover, Wayland, and fair organizers. So this was their itinerary. So from Floyd Bennett Field to Le Bourget Aerodrome, Paris, France, a distance of 3,641 miles, which is 5,860 kilometers, flown in a elapsed time of 16 hours, 38 minutes, then to Moscow, Russia, USSR, then to Omsk, Serbia, then to Yakutsk, ASSR.
Omsk is not in Serbia.
Oh, maybe it was.
Why would he go Paris, Moscow, Serbia if he was flying around the world? Omsk would be in Siberia.
Well, they say I'm looking at Wikipedia here. They're saying Omsk. It's the largest city in Omsk, Russia.
Yeah, Siberia being part of Russia.
Yeah, so technically it is Russia.
You said Serbia.
Oh, right. Sorry, I did. Okay. Ugh.
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right. Siberia. Oh, Siberia. Right. My bad. My bad. Fairbanks, Alaska, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and back to the Floyd Bennett Field. They arrived on the 14th of July. The distance flown was approximately 14,800 miles, which was 23,818 kilometers. The total duration was 91 hours, 14 minutes, and 10 seconds. The actual flight time was 71 hours, 11 minutes, and 10 seconds. That's a pretty long flight.
Yeah, well, they took breaks.
Yeah, that's true. On the 12th of July 2024, Shelley Duvall passed away. Duvall made her name in the series of landmark 1970 classics, including 7 films with the director Robert Altman, who first discovered her while she was in college in her hometown Houston, Texas. She made her debut in Brewster McCloud as a teenager tour guide before starring as a mail-order bride in McCabe and Mrs. Miller in 1971. Other collaborations between the pair include Thieves Like Us, Nashville, Buffalo Bill and the Indians, and 1977's Three Women as a fantasizing health spa attendant, which many consider her finest work and which won her the Best Actress prize at the Cannes Film Festival. Duvall said Altman was able to swing all sides of the pendulum: charming, silly, sophisticated, pathetic, and even beautiful. Duvall remains perhaps best known for her role as the House of Jack Nicholson's axe-wielding author in The Shining. The film had a famously grueling 13-month shoot, with one scene in which Nicholson's character torments Duvall with a baseball bat, reportedly running to 127 takes. Kubrick had her crying 12 hours a day for weeks on end, said Duvall in a 1981 interview with People magazine. "I will never give that much again. If you want to get into pain and call it art, go ahead, but not with me." She also appeared in 2 landmark comedies, 1977 Annie Hall as a vague Rolling Stone reporter who describes sex with Woody Allen's Alvy singer as a Kafkaesque experience. I meant that as a compliment, and in 1980 as opposite Robin Williams in Altman's live-action Popeye. Oh, and by the way, with the scene of the 127 takes with the baseball bat, this broke a world record for the most retakes of a single movie scene with spoken dialogue. Duvall
Where
said
did the
she.
baseball bat come from? It was an axe a minute ago.
I said
Are you
baseball bat.
drunk?
I think I might be sick. I said baseball bat, the first one as well. But Duvall said that she
Okay,
learned.
it was a baseball bat. I'm thinking of the scene where he smashes through the door.
Oh, what's this?
I'm
So
editing that out. I admit no failure. Nah, I'm not that bad.
uh-huh. So Duvall said she learned more from working with Kubrick on that film than she did on all of her previous films. But after those movies, she devoted herself in producing children's TV and new adaptations of classic fairy tales, in which she was Emmy nominated and won a Peabody Award. She took a break and came back in 2022, where she was featured in a low-budget horror, The Forest Hills. She died in her sleep from complications from diabetes in her home in Blanco, Texas, according to her partner Dan Gilroy. And on to our messed up moments in nerddom number 20. What have you got for us this time, Professor?
Have you ever heard of Little Albert?
Little Albert. No.
In 1919, John B. Watson and Rosalie Rayner recruited a child to experiment on classical conditioning.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to see if he could condition a child to fear something that the child wouldn't normally fear.
Wait. What?
They took a 9-month-old
Uh-huh.
and then followed the procedures that Ivan Pavlov used in his dog experiments. You might have heard of the Pavlov's dogs, the ones that would begin salivating when he rang a bell because he trained them to think bell means feeding time.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they exposed the infant to a bunch of different stimulus that Albert showed no fear to. Then, a few months later, they took Albert and a white lab rat and allowed him to play with it. At the same
Oh.
time, they started hitting a steel bar with a hammer every time Albert touched a rat. Of course, that
Oh.
purified Albert.
Oh.
After a few repetitions, they started presenting Albert with a rat and no sound. Albert became extremely distressed and tried to get away.
Oh. Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, and it gets worse because the response to the rat became generalized to other furry objects, including a rabbit, a furry dog, a sealskin coat, and a Santa Claus mask.
So basically, anything that's got fur on it, he just decides to cringe. He decides to avert himself, essentially.
Well, he's more traumatized than that, and it's not quite everything with hair, but it's caused him great distress.
Oh,
And
man.
they never bothered to do the desensitization to retrain his brain to not associate the furry things with fear.
Oh, nah, that's wrong. That's wrong, man.
Yeah, it would never pass ethical review today.
Oh, not only I think it would not pass ethical review. Those parents would be sent to a jail, and Child Protective Services would go, "You fucked up this kid's life. You know that, you two. You ought to be slapped and stabbed and anything anything dangerous."
Yeah, it's also a terrible study because there was only one child and
Oh, don't tell me it was their
no
child.
control. No, it wasn't their child.
Oh.
But there was no control, like, a lot of the things we would expect from modern science were ignored.
Did they ever find out who the kid was?
No, there's a few theories, but none are confirmed.
That's just nuts, man. That's just nuts. That's so messed up.
Yep.
Ah. And finally to our wacky movie. So we talk about the movies that came out on that day. On the 10th of July, 1998, Small Soldiers premiered. You've never seen that. You've never seen that movie, have you?
I haven't.
That's a fun movie. If involves action figures and warfare. So this premiered in America, and it was the theatrical debut, directed by genre master Joe Dante. This starred Kirsten Dunst, Gregory Smith, and David Cross. And this was the part. This was the summary. When missile technology is used to enhance toy action figures, the toys soon begin to take their battle programming too seriously. And on making the film, the director recalled, originally I wanted to make an edgy picture for teenagers, but when the sponsor ties came in, the new mandate was to soften it up as a kiddie movie. Too late, as it turned out, there were elements of both approaches in there. Just before release, it was purged of a lot of action and explosions. As a result of the deleted content, he mentioned at the end of the movies, the commandos explode the Abernethy house, but the studio did not want to show the explosions on screen. Dante believes that the studio had hopes that Small Soldiers would be the start of a film series. Yeah, there were some really messed up bits in that movie. So for the film's effects shots, Dante stated that the original idea was mostly puppetry, using puppets provided by Stan Winston. However, Dante said while shooting, it was much more simpler and cheaper to use CGI after the scenes had been shot. So the film is 1/3 puppetry and the rest CGI. This movie featured music by Led Zeppelin, a band notoriously strict about how their music is used in films, games, and other media. And this was one of the only PG-13 movies to ever be sold on video cassettes in a clamshell case, and also the last. Man, I miss those VHS cases now.
Yeah, there's something about the clunkiness of analog tech that I miss.
Hmm.
Like, it's very satisfying pushing a tape into a VCR.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear the click of the clamshell as well. Anyways, that's all we have for this week. Where can they find us, Professor?
The internet, mostly.
So they can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, and any other audio platforms, and YouTube as well. So that's all we have for this week. Stay happy, stay nerdy. Peace out.
Look after yourselves, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next time.